You're watching Let the Quran Speak. Has the Quran misunderstood the Trinity? It is often claimed that the Quran portrays the Trinity as God, Mary, and Jesus.
Which is ridiculous.
Is this true?
Yeah.
What does the Quran really intend?
Lies.
Who is really God in the Quran? And how is Jesus regarded?
Nobody knows.
With me to discuss.
Yo, real quick, man. So she just said, who's God in the Quran? Nobody knows. You can't know. The reason why you can't know is because he's unlike anything in creation. Nothing you can compare to God. Therefore, if he's nothing like creation and you can't compare him, there's no similarities, you can't understand who he is. It's impossible. It doesn't make sense. All we know is that he revealed himself somehow via an angel or angels or whoever, and he chokeslammed and beat up and had a cave match with the good old boy Muhammad, beat him down and then put him into submission, and then he carried on whatever message, which I believe is from Satan. So, and then most, people believe it's from Satan because obviously it's not what, God would actually do. Because when it comes to God, who is the true God, we know who he is because we're made in his image. So we can know who he is. Again, unlike the Islamic God that they serve. So to answer that question, you don't know. You can't know. It's impossible to know. And it's really just stupid. Even though, again, he has 99 attributes, and they all are attributes that people can have. People can be merciful. People can be all these other things, loving. But yet you're still not supposed to compare Allah to creation, but yet you have to for his names, and it just blows my mind. But whatever, let's get back into it.
This topic, Brother Shabir Ally, president of the Islamic Information Center. Brother Shabir, what does the Quran say about the Trinity?
Lies.
Well, generally, the Quran does not take the position of a theological treatise to describe in detail what people believe. But the Quran is a dialectical book. It engages people in argumentation. It appeals to them and starts with a presumption that they already know what they believe, and now the Quran is inviting them to something else. So from that perspective, the Quran challenges people to think about the Trinity, to think about God, about monotheism, and to think about the...
How does the Quran challenge people to think about the Trinity when that's not what the Trinity is? Which the Trinity was established long before Muhammad and Islam came around. Long before. So how is that? What's the challenge to that? That doesn't make any sense. That just blew my mind that this brother just came on and said that. But then again, you got to say what you got to say to make it sound good and try to cover it up, because really it's just nonsense. Again, how are you going to challenge something that was never, ever, ever used? And then for all you people in the comments are going to be like, oh, there was a small sect of Christians. No. Why would you talk? That's like if I decided to say, you know what? I'm going to judge and talk about Islam based off of the Ahmadi, or however you pronounce their names, which is like a small sect of Muslim. But I'm going to base it off that. Y'all would think I'm crazy, but yet, Allah knows best. BS.
Great prophets of God, such as Jesus, whom some people have taken in some way as being divine, to think about the background of all of this, how it came to be like that, and what precisely we should believe in today.
So why does the Quran mention Mary then? Because Mary seems quite odd. When we think of the Trinity, we don't think of Mary being included in that.
True. And in fact, countless books have been written attacking the Quran and saying that the Quran is at fault for this, that the author of the Quran, whom they claim to be the Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, they say, well, he must have...
I don't agree with those authors. I'm not going to lie to you. I do not agree with those authors at all. You know who... And the reason why is because it wasn't Muhammad that wrote it. It was Allah. And I'm giving Allah the credit. Satan. That's who wrote it. He's the one who got everything wrong. Muhammad was just the dude who got beat up and choked out and got forced to do it. Like, those movies where people like put bombs on themselves, or they go like rob a store, or they go kidnap people, and they're doing it because their family's kidnapped. And, if they don't do it, their family's going to die. That's what Muhammad was doing, basically. He was like, yo, I just got beat up, tortured, and, hey, I got to do what I got to do to survive. And that's what he was doing. And then it just spiraled into, him getting the fame and the fortune and the perks that go along with it. Like, matter of fact, there's a song back in the day by DMX, and it was called Damien. And in this song, DMX is just a regular old street gangster doing his thing. And then he meets up with Damien. And then Damien's like, yo, I'll give you everything you want. Everything you want. You just got to follow me. And DMX was like, bet. Then he started following him. He got the riches. He got everything. And then from there, he realized like, man, it really wasn't that. Not saying that Muhammad's that, because Muhammad really, to be honest with you, he's bad dude too. But I'm just saying the Quran is wrong because of Allah. The Quran was written by Allah. It's wrong because of Allah. He's the one who ain't know. Satan ain't know. Satan couldn't piece it together. Muhammad was just a byproduct. He was just the dude. He was the number two. He was a dude who got beat up and spit on, but yet went out there and was the face. That's what that was.
Misunderstood what the Christian Trinity is about, and somehow he thought that the Trinity consists in Muslim belief of God, Mary, and Jesus. So where they're getting this from is that in the Quran, in the 5th chapter, from the 110th verse onwards, a dialogue between God and Jesus is mentioned, and God is asking Jesus, did you tell people...
Where they get this dialogue from, huh? Where they get this dialogue from? They don't never want to give nobody in the New Testament credit for, penning down Jesus' words, but yet Allah gave Jibril, who then gave Muhammad, who then gave the companions of his, who then gave to the ones who actually wrote down the words of the Quran, and somehow that's all right, that those are Jesus's words, but yet not the words that he actually said with the disciples that he was at preaching and teaching. Blows my mind about that too, but I'm not gonna keep stopping it so much because, man, I ain't never gonna get through it if I do. If I just say everything that's going on in my head off this particular video, we ain't never gonna get through it. So I'm gonna hush for a little bit, maybe.
To take me and to take yourself, to take Jesus and Jesus's mother as gods beside God, and Jesus then will say, no, I didn't preach anything except what you commanded me to preach, and if I had whatever I preach, you know about it because you know what is in my mind and I don't know what is in yours, but I only preach to them that you should worship.
Yo, shouldn't Allah know that though? No, I'm just
God,
on that
the the one God, not and
unnecessarily petty.
Jesus himself is in his own teachings, according to the Quran, is represented as a prophet and as a messenger of God. So some missionaries for other faiths would then write a book and say, oh, look, the Quran is wrong because the Quran is saying that the Trinity is God, Mary, and Jesus. But the Quran never actually said that the Trinity is this. The Quran is only challenging those who would have taken Mary in some way as being divine to think about that. Did this thinking come from Jesus himself? Or is this something that...
What? I know I said I was going to not interrupt, but what? Again, going back to what I said about the challenging thing, and how are you going to challenge something that nobody cares about, that no one talks about? Again, even if, and I'm not even saying this because I don't think this is true either, even if there was a small sect of maybe 500 people back then that thought this, why would you target them and not the actual belief that was around at this time? Christianity was already established big time at this time when it comes to the Nicene Creed and everything else that understands what our Orthodox teachings are from. This was at the time. So why would you target a small piece and not the entire conglomerate of what Christianity is? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but yet you can't tell people that. You tell people that, they'll just say, you don't know what you're talking about, or they'll just try to flip the script on you and talk about your scriptures, but yet they are in this blinded state. But then again, we understand that they're going to be blinded because they're subjugated and they have to believe this stuff because that's what, their parents taught them or whoever taught them or whoever lied to them. So they're just kind of stuck in that until any other of these apologists and sisters out here like Atun Tosh and everybody else who's doing what they're called to do and spreading the truth to hopefully convert some of these people, man, because this is ridiculous. I don't know how y'all believe this nonsense.
Somebody arrived at over history. What about the idea that Jesus is God? Did that come from Jesus himself, or is that something that people derived in time
Jesus
over
said
history?
So I guess at the time then that the Quran was revealed, people were taking Mary to be a deity. Is that the case?
Yes, and one of the difficulties we have today is that what we know of Christianity today, we're thinking, well, this must have been the case all of the time, and all Christians must have believed the same thing. But in fact, beliefs about Jesus and
right,
his divine sonship...
I ain't gonna front. I ain't gonna watch all of this. I'm gonna dead it right there. I'm gonna dead it right there because that brother just lied one too many times for me, man. Whatever. He got to say what he got to say, but for you to try to come up there and say that Christianity wasn't always, when explaining the Trinity, God, Father, and Holy Spirit, you are wrong. Even in the Bible, in Matthew 28:16, when Jesus is commanding the prophets to go out and baptize, what names does he say? He doesn't say Mary. He doesn't say go baptize in the name of Mary, the Father and the Son. No, he doesn't say Mary, the Son and the Holy Spirit. No, he says I command you to go baptize in the name of the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. What is that name? That name is Yahweh. So even the apostles taught that. Even the church fathers, the disciples of the disciples taught that. So what is he talking about? The earliest writings that we have in the Didache, church fathers quotes, they all attribute the Trinity to being Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Nobody deviates from that. Nobody, not a soul. So what is he talking about? Doesn't make any sense for him to just come on and just blatantly lie like that. He knows better. He knows that from the beginning that's what it was. Even if you don't believe in it, even if you don't think it's true, that doesn't change the fact that that's what it was. That is nowhere. God, the church fathers, I'll put quotes up so that you guys can see them. Justin Martyr, Ignatius, Irenaeus, they've all stated that not only is Jesus God, the Father is God, and the Holy Spirit is God. So that just blew my mind. But again, that's what they got to do. They got to lie. They got to try to do what they can to keep their people with them, because that's the only way to go about it. That's how the book was created. That's how everything about it is created, is through lies. So that being said, this has been your boy, the Scripture Plug Albert. I'll catch y'all next time. I'm out.